give three different ways. You can go to www.kabf.org and you can give online, and when you click the donate button, you have the opportunity to become a sustaining monthly member of KBF. Your monthly contributions goes to the sustainability of KBF. You can choose whatever amount you want to give per month. It can be $5, it could be $50, it could be $500, whatever you decide to give. And so your donation will be greatly appreciated. You can also call 501-372-6119, and you can give over the phone. You'll probably talk to our program director, the legendary John Kane, and he will take your pledge of donation on the phone. You can also call one of your favorite hosts or DJ on your favorite show, and you can give your pledge that way. That's 501-433-0088. You can also send a check or money order to KBF to 2101 South Main Street here in the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. And you can mail your pledge or donation in. Or if you want to, you can come by the station at that same address, 2101 South Main Street here in Little Rock. Come up the steps, and if you do, for you stopping by, we're going to make sure you don't leave empty-handed. We're going to give you something. You're going to leave with something to show our appreciation for you coming in, whether it's a hat, a t-shirt, coffee mug, CD, album, bumper sticker, pen. It's going to be something to let you know how much we appreciate you coming in. Also doing Pledge Drive, if you have a business that you're starting, or you're an entrepreneur, or you want to have a voice in some things that are going on in the community, you have the opportunity. We offer for $150, you can get 20 60-second spots. For $150, you get 20 minutes of airtime spread out over different shows, and it's only $150. It's our most popular premium that we do on Pledge Drive. So many people take advantage of this, and it's a great opportunity. It's when you talk about the rates that it costs to do a spot, you can check anywhere, and they will tell you 20 60-second spots, 20-minute airtime for $150 is a steal. So if you are, like I said, a business owner, entrepreneur, or you just want to express concerns, or just want to get your voice out about different things as one in the community, here's your opportunity. Also, please continue to listen to multiple shows over the next couple of weeks while we're in Pledge Drive. There are so many premiums we have for pledging and donating a certain amount of money. On our Fix It show, they got saws, they got drills, they got socket sets. They have so much that you can donate or pledge to. Also, we have books, we have albums, we have so many premiums, and the premiums are the items that you can donate, or whatever. If there's a book, and so you donate $20, you can get this book. We also, if you want to donate $20, you get a t-shirt. It's just so many different things. So continue to listen to KBF 88.3 through all the shows as they offer these different premiums. So before we go any further, I just want to take a moment to give my vivacious, fierce co-host, normally on the workplace, but she, when I called and told her that, hey, the health professionals would not be here, she did not hesitate. She jumped right in and said, hey, you can count on me, and I really appreciate that. So welcome the Reverend Dr. Denise Donnell.
Good morning, Grand Rising to all of you. It's good to be here with you on this day.
And so before we get into, first of all, I want to say this is Mental Health Awareness Month. And before we get into that, I want to go backwards for a second to Tuesday's show on Community Voices. And we were having a discussion rooted in Denise Williams. Denise Williams.
Uh-huh.
Denise Williams' song, Black Butterfly. And in that discussion, I made a statement, and I want to clarify the statement because I did receive pushback on the statement, and I don't think I was clear enough, and I don't think I expressed the statement to where expressed the statement in a way that really defined what I was saying. Okay.
You gotta turn your volume down.
Okay, and so the statement I made as we were talking about the civil rights movement, the statement that I made was that the civil rights movement was about Black people trying to whether live with white people, be equal to white people, or be white people. And I thought, I haven't went back and listened to the program. I thought I said one of the consequences of the civil rights movement was that there were those who believed that equality meant this collaboration, or this idea that I want to be with white people, that Black people want to be with white people, or that they want to be like white people. And so, in clarifying that statement, and I kind of said a little bit of it a second ago, is that the civil rights movement, let me say this, the civil rights movement was about the inhumane treatment of Black bodies and Black people in America. The fight was about, these laws, these policies, especially in the South, the Jim Crow laws that really were hindering Black people from advancing, how they were being lynched, how they were being treated. And that was, I think, the one of the cruxes of the civil rights movement, to bring attention that we're not going to deal with this anymore. We want to be treated as human beings. And so part of that, in that was the crux, that was one of the main objectives of the civil rights movement. But there were those in the movement, not collectively, but there were those in the movement who felt like when they heard the word equality, is that I want to be able to live in spaces with white people. I want to be able to work alongside white people. I want to be able to, as they said,
enjoy the American dream like white people. And subsequently, one of the consequences,
and we talked about this,
we talked about on Tuesday show, is that you have a lot of Black people now who look at it as, I want to be white. And so I want to clarify that statement, that I was not saying that the whole movement of the civil rights movement was about Black people wanting to be like white people. It was that there was some in the movement, not all, but some in the movement who had that idea when it came to equality.
Caller, you on there? Caller, you on there? Caller, you on there?
Caller, you on there?
Well, good morning. And I just turned the radio on up there, and I heard about the conversation that you had with Sister Denise last Tuesday. And I wanted to call in Tuesday, but you guys never would let me in. So I'm calling today. Thank you so much for taking my call. There were quite a few people doing the civil rights movement that wanted to, quote unquote, get what the white man had. A lot of folks talk like that. Don't be ashamed to say it, because it's the truth. Sadly, you had a lot of folks, and they weren't all educated people. You had people from the country, if you will, that just media workers, if you will, that weren't professionals, that thought that they would get what the white man had. That's how integration came to be what it is today, because initially it was just about getting a wanted to not have to walk past the school or drive past the school where white folks went and got an equal education, if you will, instead of that separate and equal, you know what I mean? And once they did away with separation, which was integration, then there were quite a few blacks who actually embraced being white. You know, they even said that they weren't going to do business with black folks. A lot of folks went out of business because of integration. It wasn't all because of what the white person did to the black man. You had a lot of black folks that refused to do business with black folks anymore because they were able to, quote unquote, get a better deal with white folks. And I just want to say that because that part of it is true. And they didn't get a better deal all over the spectrum because if you look at the whole instrument of government, things got a lot worse, man. Now you've got more black people being sentenced to jail than white folks. You got more black people being sentenced to jail, convicted for crimes that they didn't commit than white folks, and the disparity just goes on and on and on exponentially. That was the result of immigration. You didn't have it like that before. To be able to really understand it would be good to have been back there at that time. You know what I'm talking about. But even if you weren't back there at that time, this is the small folk that really know about what happened because they were there. And I just want to say that it's not anything to argue about or disagree about because it did happen, and that's how it happened. I'm not saying that the whole civil rights movement was predicated on being a white person, but you had quite a few people, both professional and non-professional, that thought that the American dream was going to be a white person and have what they had. With that, I get off there. Is Denise there?
Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ezekiel.
I've been turning it off and I'm in my truck and I'm gonna get off the phone and listen. But believe it or not, they quite a few people at that particular time in life, in the early 60s and the late 50s, they accepted the civil rights movement as a path to get to the next level with the level that they moved out of black neighborhoods unmanned. That wasn't something that white folks did. That was something that they did. I mean, they abandoned homes that were beautiful. We're trying to restore them today. People moving back in the neighborhood. You know, a lot of our folks that moved out, which they had never moved out, but a lot of them did. We had beautiful neighborhoods back before integration and all the stuff, you know, and it was with them and black communities as well. But the residential communities were just some of them were pristine. They had gardens and beautiful homes, and they weren't big lavish palatial type homes, but they were very, very nice neighborhoods that I'm out there. And hopefully somebody else would, you know, call in and say, yeah, I remember that. Because, you know, we stayed in houses that had our just doing right around the corner. We had big, beautiful 4 or 5 bedroom homes with balconies and stuff, you know. We had shotgun houses with our house right in the same neighborhood. Right there, dump out here. That I got from. And I'm going to have this.
All right, thanks, man. And I think, you know, as I was saying, yes, that's one of the consequences of what. So I think the biggest issue
is that when I made the statement, I didn't clarify it completely, and so I think some people took it as that I was saying that was the whole civil rights movement. That's what the civil rights movement was all about, and so that's why I want to come back and re-clarify that, because I didn't want anybody to think that, you know, that's what I was talking about, and what I was saying was that, just like what you said, Matt, yeah, there were those in the civil rights movement who had a belief that that's where when you talk about equality,
what they associated equality with. And that was, you know, that was some, but that was not the whole of the civil rights movement. The whole of the collective of the civil rights movement was empowerment of Black people, making sure that laws and policies that were written to keep Black people down, keep Black people from prospering, to make sure those were overturned. And as these laws start to change with the Voting Rights Act, 64, and the Civil Rights Act, I think that's where I just believe, in my opinion, that was when that shift became, where there were those who said, "Oh, now that we have these laws on the book, now we can be equal to white people." And subsequently, you have those even now who believe that they're not Black, but they operate in a way that they feel like they operate in white society.
I want to say good morning. I don't know, it's not good morning to you, Charles, but
Hey, Charles.
I'm Kampala, Uganda, but Charles is listening along with the children from Kids Gear Infant School. And I know that others of you are also tuned in virtually. You just don't make yourself known, and that's fine. And so that's the only reason I don't call your name. But when you do put your name on the screen, I do want to make sure that I call it. My problem with this conversation, well, first of all, let me just say thank you to you, Toney, for clarifying, because that was my pushback. I know I'm one of the ones who pushed back, because what I heard you say was that the civil rights movement was about us wanting to be white, and that's what I was pushing back. To say that there were Black people then and now who want to be white, I think that may be true, but I think that the way that we are interpreting that statement could benefit from a deeper analysis. Because if you're saying that the Black person wanted what the white person had, and you're saying that as if there's something wrong with that means that I'm trying to be white, that's not what I hear in that statement. When I think about the way that white people are treated as human, when I think about the way that white people are treated as free, when I think about the way that white people are treated as liberated, when I think about the way white people are respected based on their gifts and their graces and their talents, and the way that they are elevated when they don't even have any gifts or graces or talents in what it is that they are supposed to be doing in that context. When I think about the way the world handles white people in that regard, I can even say as a Black person, I deserve to be treated and received in that same way. That does not mean I want to be white. It means that I want my humanity to be honored. If I want to live in a certain neighborhood, nothing should stop me. If I want to go to a certain school, nothing should stop me. But because I am Black, I face these obstacles that are intentionally put in my way that white people do not have to face in the same ways. And so I think it's unfair to say that just because I dare say honor my humanity, that means I want to be white. I want us to be careful about that.
Okay, and I can understand that. And what I was saying is that because of, and yes, there are those Black people who, with everything you said, yes, that's what they want, but they believe, or they feel like, I don't want to say believe, but they feel like the only way I can get all that is that I have to assimilate myself into not only this white culture, but I have to do everything I can to be accepted in this white culture. And that would give me the respect. That would give me all those things that I want, even to the point where, if I have to dress like them, if I have to talk like them, if I have to be in every space with them, if I have to become, become part of the white collective in whatever way I need to be, then I will be accepted. And I think I feel like that's one of the things that happens. But we know that that's not going to change how, just because you are in this, it's not going to change how white people view you or how white people look at you. Majority of white people look at you. That's just the white humanity. In humanity, and all you have to do is look at some of the statements that are made by white people. Oh, I have a lot of Black friends. Oh, I know. I I've been involved in the Black race, or I work with Black people, and so, but it does not take away the fact that Black people, as a whole, as a collective, are being mistreated.
And I understand that there may be a segment of the Black population that believes that, and that are navigating and working and living in that way. My problem with center is that we center that when I make a statement like on Tuesday, I'm saying, wait a minute, this is not what the civil rights movement was about. And then your response is, well, wait a minute, there were people who were there that wanted to be white. That may be true, but why do we want to center those people? I want to create spaces where we are centering the people who are trying to fight, the people who are trying to be liberated, the people who have a better analysis of what was happening with the movement, a better analysis of what's happening with us now. So yes, we can acknowledge those people, but I don't want to give them as much airtime. I don't want to give them as much attention. I don't want to give them as much space, because I feel like the more you talk about those people, the greater the chances that people listening to the conversation are going to walk away with that understanding, rather than the one that I believe is most helpful for the collective of Black folks that I am interested in making sure is seen and heard and respected and able to live according to the height of their own potential.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but also, I look at it that you have to leave room so that those people who may think on the opposite end, they may not be as well informed, they may not be educated enough, they might not understand Black consciousness, they may not understand it because of all the different things that are going on that tries to shield that, tries to downplay that, or try to hide that. So, there's a possibility that someone who may have that thinking listens in and say, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I never looked at it like that. Oh, maybe I need to rethink. And so it's one of those things where, I understand what you're saying, but, part of what we're trying to do is empower or educate and enlighten those on the other side, that they can come in and say, hey, you know what? They're right. I've been conducting myself, or I've been, my mind has been, whether you want to say my mind has been tricked, or as Malcolm said, we've been bamboozled. And so now I can see another way of thinking. I remember when Alan Buzak was here, and he was talking about his book, Selfish Revolutionaries. And I had never heard of Biko before, Stephen Biko. But once he started talking about him, my mind started to change. And I started like, whoa, I've been looking at some of these things in a wrong way. But because I opened myself up to be in that space, it gave me a new idea. It gave me a new thought process. And so one of the things that I believe that happens is, if you can get those people in and they can hear it, it may bring forth a change in their mindset.
I just feel like you're intensifying my argument, because yes, if they're in the space, then what they need to hear is how they are not thinking. I don't need to center how you think, because I want you to be open to another way of thinking. So I need to center a new way of thinking for you. And that's my whole argument. I don't want to spend all my time saying, this is how, these Black people thought about this and felt about this. I want you to say, no, let's talk about the way we want the Black people, the Black collective to respond to the system of white inhumanity. So I just feel like you were helping me out. I want to get these comments. We got some comments. Raman says, to be treated how white people treat white people, you must be white. I'm going to read that again. Oh, let me put it up. I forgot this is StreamYard. I can put it up on the screen so everybody can see. To be treated how white people treat white people, you must be white. I'm going to spend some time thinking about that, because what I hear right now, just off the cuff in your statement, is that the only way that my humanity is ever going to be honored is if I become white. And so if that's the case, that it's never going, that I'm never going to be treated as human because I am not white, then what are we fighting for? So that would be my first question, just off the cuff. If the only way I'll ever be treated, because again, I'm not trying to be white. I want my humanity to be honored. I want to be treated as human. So that's why I'm asking that question. And then Lo says, the lion and hyena will never be friends. I think he said this before on more than one occasion. And I want to get this comment in from Phyllis Brown. He said, this is a sad and troubling conversation, actually. And what we need to do is study W.E.B. Du Bois and George Washington Carver.
Okay.
So those are the comments. I want to make sure that we honor the voices that make themselves known in the space.
Okay. And so, like I said at the beginning of the show, this is going to be a hybrid help corner and workplace conversation. I appreciate the conversations that we've been having, and at the beginning it was, talking about the clarification of what was said on Tuesday. But this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we do understand that Black people are dealing with so much trauma in their lives, so much trauma. They carry the trauma of their ancestors. And it's so difficult a lot of times to get Black people to understand that, hey, you need to you need to take care of your mental health as well as your physical health. Over the past month, I've seen our program director, John Kane, who contracted COVID and was a staunch advocate of not taking any vaccines. I'm not saying that if he would have took the vaccine, he would have not contracted COVID. We know that's not a fact. But it may have been a way that may have prevented it. Larry Hicks, who does Let's Talk About It on Monday mornings here on KBL, he suffered a stroke. And then in my own family, my youngest daughter had to last Thursday, had the week before she found out that she was 7 months pregnant, she found out that her baby had died. The baby had died in the womb, and so last Thursday she had to deliver a stillborn. Would it still be stillborn baby, which is very, very traumatic, not only for her, but for the people around her. And a lot of times we don't realize, especially as Black people, is that when your mental health is not where it is, it not only affects you, that person, but it affects so many people around you. And that, which means that everybody needs to have some type of therapy or some type of intervention that will help. And when you correlate that with work, there has been a push for years and years and years for workers to have paid sick leave. There have been bills that have been introduced. Every year, one is being, every time the General Assembly here in Arkansas meets, it's a bill that is being introduced that there should be some type of sick leave for mental issues, not just physical, but mental issues, what you call paid sick days, however. And it's always rejected. And when you think about it, and I'm fortunate, I'm very fortunate that I had that in my job, that I had that where I was able to take the time I need, not only for my family, for my daughter, but also for myself, that I could take that time and make sure I'm taking care of me. And
But a lot of people don't have that. There are a lot of people, who what if, and I've read stories of women who have went through the same situation, and like a week later, or some even 4 or 5 days later, are back at work. Not only not giving their body a chance to heal, but not giving their mind, their trauma, a chance to be taken care of, because I need to go back to work because I don't have the time to take off, and I need that money. And so that's what I want to talk about today. How do we come as a collective? How do we push to have these laws or policies in place? Because the mental health, when your mental or physical health is off, everything is off. I'm gonna take this call real quick.
Call you on there.
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Well, brother, I want to say to you, Brother Toney, you and Brother Denise, you all should work good together. I can't live off enough. I mean, you kind of rubbish. Where you all respect each other and have the right to be wrong, or have the right to agree to disagree. But mental illness, when we go to our divine patriarchs, David, Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, listen, David never did recover. He never did get out of it. I mean, he started on himself by, going from the big edges, he had his best friend, he was man enough to tell him that's what he had did. He could have, Almighty God gave him power of freedom to choose. And he chose to go about it as a king, but God did not let him off. Almighty God didn't let him off. He didn't do it. He could have did it, but he never was able to be an administrator. He was a father, But anyway, I just want to say, this was a brother that lost his life in New York by ex-Marine. He was a Michael Jackson impersonator. And look, we got to take this mental illness thing seriously. We just can't just try to say, well, I'm gonna do a little prayer and I'm gonna go to church and let the pastor pray. But no, this mental ill thing comes through the door. Through the back door. You got to really be working on yourself moment to moment, day to day. And I just want to put that out there. We got to take this mental illness seriously. Thank you all.
I want to, since we're having dual conversations, I do have a comment going back to the civil rights movement and about Black people want to be white, want to be treated like white. And I said, I want my humanity honored. And I was having the conversation with Raman. So he responded and said, humanity is also looked at as how you treat animals. Subhuman. He has subhuman as well. So humanity is also looked at as how you treat animals as well. And so I wanted to make sure I got that comment out there into the space in case people want to respond to that. When we talk about, when Mr. Willie talks about, it's important for us to lean into mental illness and to center it and to make space for it. I want to say that it is imperative. I know you said, Toney, like, what do we need to do to get this legislation and legislation, these laws passed? I don't want to talk about the laws right now, because sometimes I feel like we spend a lot of time thinking about what what the white people should do for us through the legislation, rather than focusing on some things that we can do for ourselves. So if we're going to talk about Black people, I'm always centering Black people, but this is for anybody. If we're going to talk about mental illness and what we need to do, the church, the Black church in particular, has done an awful job of helping its parishioners understand the need for mental health. In fact, the Black church can be indicted for discouraging people from seeking therapy, saying that Jesus is the only help that you need. And so when we talk about the importance of making sure that we revisit history so that we can see how we have damaged ourselves, like when you talk about, well, this is what the civil rights movement was about, but this is how it's playing out. If we talk about how the church for years and years and generations have kept people from therapy, and now you say, oh, we need to talk about therapy, well, then the church has to first stand up and say, hey, I need to tell the truth about the history of who we have been as it relates to mental illness, and I need to address where we need to be, and I need to take the steps to become more aware around mental illness. And I feel like those pastors who do get to the point where they say, yes, we need to center mental illness. So if y'all got a problem, y'all come to me. I want us to be careful about that too. Because just because you are a pastor, that does not make you a mental health expert. Just because you have gone to school like me, and I took every counseling class I could possibly take, they had to tell me, Denise, you cannot take any more counseling classes. That does not make me a specialist around mental health issues. And so if the church, first of all, has to stop telling people not to seek therapy, secondly, tell people to seek therapy, but don't act like you are the therapist.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and you're right. That has facilitated more people, especially people in the church, being undiagnosed, being harmed. And I'm going to tell you something. We always talk about violence. We always talk about the harm. You know, to me, that's part of the violence against human beings, against humans, and against Black people. When you won't take the time to tell someone, and it's not that you should feel like if I can't heal this person, if I can't lay hands on this person, if I can't give a word to this person that's gonna, as they said, loose this person, and I want you to understand, I'm a firm believer. I believe in miracles. I believe that God can intervene however He wants.
But I also understand that God has given us information. He has given us the ability to think through some things. And it's some things you just have to think through, and I agree that there are a lot of pastors who, when a parishioner comes to them or a congregant comes to them and say, hey, this. Oh, we're going to pray about you and lay hands instead of saying, hey, you know what?
Let me direct you to a professional. Let me direct you. Because like you said, Denise, just because I'm ordained as a pastor does not mean I'm ordained as a mental health professional. Does not mean I'm ordained as a physical health specialist, and so they have to accept that, and the church has to accept those two things, as you said, that hey, we have failed, and number one, we need to accept that we've done a poor job, but we need to be more forthcoming and letting people know, listen, if you need help, you need to go to a professional, because I'm not the one to.
I just remember something that Mr. Willie said that I want to comment on, and then I'm going to get to Ramen. There's another comment specifically for you from Ramen. But Mr. Willie said that he feels like we work good together. I got a call the other week about saying that the two of us needed to apologize because of the way that we were going back and forth. And I told the caller we were not going to apologize, but I also reminded the caller, and maybe we need to, Mr. Willie has given us an opportunity to say this, that we debate issues fiercely and passionately in this space, and then we walk out the door and are like, hey, you going to that meeting tonight? What's up? What you got to do? What you got on your agenda? What you working on? What you reading? We have just regular conversations that regular people have because we consider this to be the work that we do, and we generally have different perspectives, and we're going to make sure that we are standing firm on what those perspectives are. So I appreciate him saying that, and I just wanted to remind the listeners of that we absolutely debate the issues. It doesn't mean that we are upset with each other, that we are mad at each other, that we're not going to talk to each other. That's just not how it plays out. But here's the comment for you, Toney from Rom, and I'm going to put it on the screen. Well, according to Toney and his past views on COVID and the workplace, if you can't hack it and the job doesn't provide therapy or time, then find another job. Yes, I'll read it again. Well, according to Toney and his past views on COVID and the workplace, if you can't hack it and the job doesn't provide therapy or time, then find another job in quotations, then find another job.
I've said that.
Well, regardless, if you have I don't know if we want to argue, did you really say it? I don't know.
And so the one thing that you can never take away from anybody, hey, that's true. You do have a choice. You do have a choice in where you if possible. I know there are a lot of people whose choices are limited. Whose choices are limited. That goes back to this overall conversation about health and physical and mental health, which branches us all out into the resources available and the different things like that. So there are some people who do have the choice to go find another job that doesn't offer certain benefits. But there's a lot of people who don't have that choice, who can't move. And so the people that can't move, then there has to be something in place for them. There has to be something in place that can help them. There are a lot of people who have jobs, who can't even afford the insurance that the job provides, because it cuts into the money they need to survive and take care of themselves. And so when you don't have that, and it's not there, that's what the Affordable Health Care Act was made to cover those people who can't afford the insurance that their job provides. And so, yes, if you have that opportunity to say, hey, this job doesn't provide this, hey, let me move on. But if you don't, then what do you do? It's almost like you're trapped. And there are a lot of Black people who feel that they're trapped, not just Black people, but workers, period, who feel like they're trapped in these jobs and they don't have the resources that they need to actually take care of their mental and physical health.
I think Mr. Willie also brought up Jordan Neely. He didn't name him, but that's his name, Jordan Neely, who was murdered on the subway in New York by that ex-Marine. When we talk about when he brought up Jordan Neely, I made sure that I was reading the comments from the mayor, who is a Black man, Eric Ward, in New York, and so talking about with his position of power, not only did he not name the murder, not only did he not name Penny as the murderer, not only did he not talk about the disparities of about harm and violence against Black bodies. He didn't mention any of those things. Instead, he was using his position of power to advocate for police officers to be able to force people who are mentally ill into hospitalization. And so when we have these conversations about what can we do, and when you say to Rama, well, if you can move, you can, but if you can't and you feel trapped, there are probably there is at least one, I would say one, may not be a whole bunch of, but there's usually at least one Black person who has a voice in that space, who could say, hey, we need to take a look at these policies. Hey, we need to change this handbook. Hey, we need to think about these procedures. And you can use your voice in that context to advocate, activate, irritate, agitate on behalf of those people who cannot because they are not in the room. And so at one point I was talking about the importance of Black people getting in the room. I'm beyond that point now, because especially because of Virgil Miller. Because when Virgil Miller and we start talking, he's like, well, I'm your Malcolm. I'm your Martin. You Malcolm in the street, and I'm gonna be your Martin at the table. And I'm like, I can't trust what you gonna say when you get to the table. So we got a problem with this relationship. And so now that's what I'm pushing us as Black people, especially with the conversation from the civil rights movement. You trying so hard to get so close to white that you in the room with white people, and now you forgot that you Black and you're not raising our issues. So yes, if you can get another job and that works out for you, that's fine. But if you can't, we ought to be able to depend on somebody to say, hey, we need to do a better job of this. And it doesn't, white people need to do the work too. I'm not saying that. Again, I always center Black folks, but how are we using our power when we have it? And that goes back to the church when we're having this conversation about mental illness as well.
And so just on the, just talking about Mr. Neely and being killed on the subway in New York. Here's another thing that becomes problematic. The guy. My mind just went blank. The officer, the
Marine.
The Marine.
Oh, Daniel Penny.
Okay, so if you've ever been in New York and you ever been on a subway in New York, been around, you can't tell me that Mr. Penny was the only homeless person around. You can't get me to believe that there wasn't other, that Mr. Penny had come in contact with white people who had mental illness. And so his claim was that he was yelling, he was being belligerent, which, like I said, if you've been in New York, Chicago, even here in Arkansas, just driving down Broadway, you see people talking, you see people walking in I've seen people walking in the street yelling at cars, but I didn't see anybody run over them. So now at this particular moment, you felt like he was a threat to everybody in that subway car. And now you feel like because you're a Marine, you're treated like a hero, you're treated with this status, it's your responsibility to protect the people in that subway car. You kill him, you choke him out. And now, and this is what I'm getting to, they have raised over $2 million for his defense fund or whatever he needs, $2 million. So to me, you kill a homeless Black man with mental illness and you get paid for it. So to me, it's that same system all along that, hey, you kill a Black man, we're gonna kill. We don't care what's going on with the Black man. We're not gonna give him any resources. We're not gonna try to help him. But if you kill him, you get paid. And so take this call.
And that's why it's always important to me to center Blackness, because we keep saying, well, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes. But when we talk about that, we talk about it just as a phenomenon. We talk about it just as a part of life. But mental health and the way that it affects Black people is a different conversation. When we talk about healthcare and the lack of healthcare for our community, when we talk about the disparities in the way that we are treated in the doctor's office. I was just at the orthodontist yesterday, and a white woman had come out from having oral surgery. I was about to go in, and they were talking to her about all of what she needed to do and all of what the instructions are. And I was listening intently because I knew that it's a possibility that what she was saying to the white woman, she wasn't going to say to me as the Black woman. So I wanted to get all the information I could possibly get. So when it was my turn, if something was omitted, I would know that it was omitted and I could say something about it, because that's the reality of living Black, that no matter what your situation is, it's different for you. So yes, we need to talk about mental health, but we also need to talk about mental health at the intersection of Blackness. We need to talk about mental health at the intersection of Blackness and homelessness, mental health at the intersection of Black and homeless and violence with police. All of that has to be a part of the conversation. We can't just spend all this time saying, yes, 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 let's talk about the importance of mental health. We have to make sure that we focus in on the populations that need that help the most.
Yes, you're right. And caller, before we go on, the last caller, if you call back, we'll get you on. And so I apologize for, we were in a conversation and wanted to break the conversation. So if you just call back, and you are right, it's so different. Even now, with DHS here in the state of Arkansas, over 200,000 people, 74,000 people have been kicked off the expanded Medicaid, Medicare. And when you talk about Medicaid, Medicare, they still refer to it as welfare. That's how you look at it, welfare. That we're giving you something. And the face they put to that is Black people. They put a Black face to it. And so they tried this work requirement that you need to work, and so you can get this. But the problem becomes, if I'm working and I'm trying to get this healthcare that I need, and I'm working, but I have all these hoops to jump through. I have all this paperwork I have to do. If I miss one thing, then I get kicked off. But you say if I work, I get to stay on, but if something happens and I get kicked off. But the majority, I know, let me get this call. Caller, thank you for holding.
Yes. Did I get it straight that we're gonna take money out of the government, our money, $2 million to get this man a defense lawyer?
No. There was, I don't know if it was a GoFundMe, or I know there was this group of people who got together and said, because they believe what he did, and it's white people, they believe what he did was right, and so now they look at it as he's this hero, and we need to protect him, and so whatever he needs to fight this, we're gonna provide it for him.
But then we need to counteract that. Black people, the people of color, we need to collaborate. We need to come together and contest that. We need to bring some. So we don't need to be sitting on the sideline, rumbling and making complaints. We need to get in there, boots on the ground, and we need to put our money where our mouth. We need to come in here and show this brother some honor. Thank you.
I think Mr. Willie is right on one level, that we do need to come together and coordinate our dollars to make a difference in the way that we are living as Black. I don't believe for me, that's not the space where I want to spend my money. But one of the questions that we have that I thought about after Mike was on the station, Mike and I were talking afterwards, and we were downstairs at the bottom of the stairs, and we were talking, and I was looking into his eyes, and I could see how serious, how sincere he was in what he was saying. And all I could think of was that, he doesn't get it. He gets what he's doing. When we talk about gentrification, he's like, no, I'm trying to make this a more diverse place. I really believe he's sincere about that. And so I said, I was talking to Phyllis Brown, I was like, well, can you really be mad at him working the system in the way that it allows him to work? When we as Black people did not do what we needed to do to keep up the neighborhood. We got 15 cars in one driveway, some of them on bricks on the street. We have trash that we will just throw all over our yard. We won't keep up our home. So there are some things that we can't say that the white man is doing to us. And then when they come in with all these systems and all this help that they gonna give us because they see us as projects and causes, on some level we have to say, like Mr. Willie, what did we do? How did we come together? How did we band together? How did we collaborate? How did we put our money together? What are we doing to combat this? That's where I would have the conversation as opposed to Daniel Penny.
And I agree. I agree. Sometimes as Black people, we can be our own worst enemy. We rise up, we get mad when gentrification or other things happen, and, but we don't want to take responsibility or accountability for the things that we could have done. When you mentioned the issue about the church, the Black church as a collective, we want to complain. The church wants to complain about certain things. They want to complain about what's not happening, but then they don't want to admit that they failed, or they don't want to admit that they were complicit, or they don't want to admit that, this is our fault. It's got to be somebody else's fault because it's not ours. And I think that's something that has to be addressed when it comes to Black people, is that we have to stand up and say, you know what, we didn't do what we're supposed to do. Now let's figure out a way to correct it. Let's do something to correct it. Let's pool our resources, let's become unit. Let's do something to correct this instead of just saying, oh, we're going to wait on white, the government or white people to correct it for us.
Yeah, and every time we have this kind of conversation, I can't help but think about Philip Pointer and St. Mark when we were losing that grocery store on 12th Street, and I know people went to talk to him about using his resources and his finances to save that store in whatever way, however that would have looked. And he says that he didn't believe that was the mission of the church. And so I'm like, well, what is the mission of the church? Does the church know its mission anymore? Especially do Black churches know their mission anymore? And so for anybody that's in that congregation, for you to now talk about, oh, what a shame it is that we're living in a food desert, then I can't have it with you.
Okay. Hey, I looked up, it's 10 o'clock. That's the end of our show. Just want to thank everybody for calling in. Just want to thank you, Denise, for sitting in this morning. Appreciate it. So enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know people have been texting me, calling me about Domino's on the Park. We haven't had a conversation about it, but I'm thinking that maybe next Friday we start back Domino's in the Park.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit down. I'm just throwing it out there. I know we haven't talked about it, but I'm gonna sit down with Denise and see.
Next Friday would be the 26th.
Yeah, see if we can go ahead and get that started. Hey, tune in on Monday. Well, I will not be here Monday. I will not be here on Monday, so there will be no down with that. So I will tune in. Are you Community Voice? Tune in Community Voices on Tuesday from 9 to 10. Next Thursday for the workplace from 9 to 10. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.